Welcome to the Darkstream. I'm VoxDay, voxday.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic News. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Been an interesting day. Kind of a fake news day, if you ask me. It's been kind of interesting to see the Democrats trying to generate something out of nothing. A lot of people are a little bit upset with the fact that Sessions recused himself, and I have to say that I don't really see it being that big a deal just because there's nothing there. Sessions had said, look, the volume is what it is. I don't have any control over it. So stop talking about it every time. There's nothing I can do. Okay? So, anyhow, it's distracting to it's distracting to hear people complaining about it. Either turn it up or whatever. But the iPad doesn't allow me to do anything. So unless you like me talking about this every single time, stop bringing it up. Anyhow, the thing is, I understand the point. The point is that, again, we see the God Emperor's administration backing down in the face of media, firepower, and that's potentially a problem. But we don't know for sure that is really the true motivation. We can't know. In the case, it's very clear there's a big difference. In the case of Flynn, he did not divulge information to Pence and therefore to Trump. And so in doing so, he lost his... Okay, I don't need this stuff. If you're going to claim to be a big fan and then be constantly whining about the volume and keep bitching about it when I tell you to shut up, you're not a big fan, okay? I don't know what you are, but it's ridiculous. Yes, Gamatel, most likely. Anyhow, look, the thing is, if I could, I have a microphone. When everybody complained about this before, I went out and bought a microphone. This is supposedly the best microphone for the iPads, and then everybody said the quality is even worse. Okay, so I'm not going to mess with it. It is what it is. Anyhow, so to get back to the point, I do think that the optics of it are a little bit strange, especially because of the backing down with Flynn, and then the backing, Sessions recusing himself. It does look a little bit. It does look a little bit different, and so I think that we'll have to wait and see whether this is significant or not. The fact that Trump came out strong and came out in support of Sessions, the fact that Sessions had already said he was going to recuse himself from any investigations of the campaign, to me indicates that this is largely irrelevant. One of the earlier comments was he's also recusing himself from investigations of leprechauns and unicorns. There is nothing there. The Russians did not hack the election. They did not, coordinate their campaign. It's the U.S. He did not lie under oath. There was a context to the question. The questions were related to the campaign, and so. The fact that you bump into somebody or whatever does not make it some sort of big official. No, they did not lie. And who is they? Sessions did not lie. Flynn did. There's the difference. And so, so the question is this going to prevent him from? Okay, yeah, you're gone. It's kind of amazing, the narcissism of these commentators who think that hundreds of people want to pay attention to them going, yeah, you did, and that sort of thing. It's just ridiculous. But the point is that Sessions had 25 conversations with ambassadors. The Russian ambassador was one of them. That doesn't, that doesn't make it in the context of the campaign and the context of what questions he was addressing. That's not relevant. And so, it's also entirely possible that he had some contact with a Russian stripper at the strip club that he didn't know was Russian. But that's not contacts with Russia. And so, but so the question is, are they falling into a trap? They being the Trump administration. Is the Trump administration falling into a trap, or are they correctly choosing to pick their battles? Obviously the media wants to get wrapped up in this. The media wants to make this, a huge thing, and they want to, remove all of the people that are related to, the Trump's most reliable right. And yes, and the GOP establishment, is embarrassing itself with, who was it? You had a Mormon cuck. You had a Lindsey Graham, who, everybody knows is pretty sketchy. You had that guy who was like raised by gay Jews, and then who's the other one? And Mr. Foam Party himself, Marco Rubio. Those are the four guys who were like quick to cave, and so the mere fact that those guys were the ones leading the Republican charge against Sessions tells you all you need to know. It tells you that there's nothing there. These are not people of great principle and integrity who are saying that, this is clearly wrong. And so, what would indicate that the Trump administration is losing control? I think that if he backs down on immigration, and if he goes to war with either Russia or Iran, those are the big issues. Those are the issues that matter. The other stuff, the whole Obamacare thing isn't really about Trump. What Obamacare is revealing is that the Republicans in Congress were never serious about overturning it. They kept saying, we want to overturn it, but the Obama administration is blocking us. And then CERN's idea to have the Trump administration, that's basically what we're doing with Infogalactic News. And so it would be nice to see the God Emperor do something similar. Yeah, and so I guess actually that's a better answer to the question. The main way we'll know that Trump has lost control is if they manage to sever Bannon from the administration. He's the one that matters. Sessions is good. Sessions was a great advisor to the campaign, and he was someone who's really key on the immigration issue. But he's replaceable. There are other people who could head up the investigations that are potentially just as good. Bannon is not. Bannon is the strategist. And so, I would love to get, I would love it if we had a better idea of what's going on, what Bannon's planning. But, of course, he's going to keep it close to his breast, and he's not going to divulge that because, the entire media, I don't know if you saw the story on Infogalactic News today, but 88% of the media stories about the Trump administration are negative. And so, we talked about the Trump speech last night, and so the problem is that, or not so much the problem, but he's basically extending olive leaves again, and that's important to the to make sure to bring the civic nationalists along, and to bring the white working class along, especially those that have tended to Democrat. I don't have any specific recommendations for Attorney General. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think Sessions is going anywhere. There's no reason for him to. I mean, this whole story about Sessions is essentially fake news. I mean, it's not fake in that, yes, actual things did happen, but it's not a major news story. If it's fake news every time, all the time, why would he recuse? Well, first of all, it's not entirely fake news about Flynn. Flynn did lie to Pence. And so, but what is fake news is that Sessions didn't do anything wrong. He didn't lie under oath to Congress. Even if he did lie under oath to Congress, it wouldn't matter. Nobody ever gets punished for that sort of thing. And so, why would Sessions recuse himself? Because there's nothing there. Because there's no need for, there's absolutely no need for him to get involved with it. If there's nothing to investigate, why should he waste his time doing it? Go ahead, hand it off to an underling, and then focus on the important stuff. But Flynn, no, you guys who are still going, oh, it's such a big mistake about Flynn, you don't understand. When has Trump fundamentally dominated? No, you're wrong, Southpaw. If there's nothing there is going to be an investigation. You don't investigate because there's definitely something there. They have to investigate this. They will investigate this. And so because Sessions knows it's irrelevant, he can walk away from it. There's no need for him to focus on that. It's much more important for him to focus on other issues. Now the question is that if we're correct and there's nothing there and he's just stepping back because it doesn't matter, well, no, because he's going to be focusing on other significant things, and we're going to see the ramifications of that fairly soon. No, I don't know of any progress on Pizzagate. No, nothing about it. No, Sessions did not lie for about the 5th time. So, let's get rid of this guy. So anyhow, good, I'm glad. I think you're going to enjoy those 2 books. They're both great books. In fact, actually, I should mention that we just published a new audiobook today by Martin Van Krevel, the author that was just mentioned. I do block easily. Don't fuck around. No, I can't turn up my mic. Stop asking. I'm seriously, I'm going to have to start nuking people for just talking about that. Okay, why? You don't need to know why. See, that's how easily I block. I'm not interested in talking about iPad's idiotic design. I did not design the iPad. I did not choose to remove the capability of allowing the user to turn up the gain. It's ridiculous. Anyhow, yeah, well, the problem is that some of these people are new, and they don't, you don't really want to do that to somebody who's just, tuning in for the first time. But yeah, good point. Anyhow, so the harder line than Cernovich. I think Mike would probably agree with that. A lot of you might not realize, but I spent 6 years doing pretty intense heavy contact martial arts. So the whole the whole idea of blocking someone on social media does not strike me as a big deal. When you're used to punching your best friends in the face pretty hard, tapping on the screen once is not a major achievement in my opinion. But the thing is, this is a lesson also I've learned from the blog, is that trying to engage people that don't really want to engage is a waste of time. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of everybody's time. And so, but getting back to the issue, we will find out we need to wait and see what happens, and see if Sessions uses this or if it somehow manages to neutralize him. I don't think so. But getting back to the Flynn point, I think a lot of people are failing to understand that Flynn was not about the media pressure. Flynn was about the fact that the God Emperor lost confidence in him. And he did not want someone that he felt he could not trust in that position. And so it's fundamentally a mistake to try to judge everything, especially with Donald Trump, on the basis of media pressure. He was under media pressure to dump people plenty of times before, and he refused to do so. But no, he didn't dump David Duke out of media pressure. He was never ever associated with David Duke. He never had anything to do with David Duke. He probably barely knew who he was, you know. David Duke was trying to cling on to him, the same way that Richard Spencer was trying to cling on to him, the same way that a lot of people have tried to claim that they had something to do with Trump. I mean, if you've noticed, I've never said anything about that because I don't believe it. I had nothing to do with the Trump administration. I had nothing to do with this election whatsoever. You know, he's the actor, we're the audience. Don't forget that. And so, and we're very fortunate to have someone like that in there. Is Trump perfect? No, of course not. Nobody is. Does he do things exactly the way that I would? Of course not. You know, one could quite, given his level of success, one could quite convincingly argue that he does things significantly better than I do. So who am I to say that, oh, you shouldn't have done this, or that was a mistake, or this was a mistake? I mean, the only way that we can decide whether Sessions' recusal was a mistake is by what happens in the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. We'll find out. It's too soon to tell. But what we can say is we don't even know that Trump had anything to do with this. And so if Sessions may have just decided, I mean, here's the thing that you got to keep in mind. Sessions said previously that he was going to recuse himself. So no, the AG is not going to get fired, and he did tell the truth. So there's, again, I mean, one thing that I thought was really funny was, who was it, McCarthy, the Republican, who was criticizing, he was criticizing Sessions and saying that, people who do this sort of thing should recuse themselves. And then people, of course, applied that correctly to the Sessions situation. And then he promptly said, well, no, I wasn't saying that Sessions should recuse himself. People are taking me out of context. It's kind of like, well, that's exactly what you were doing to Sessions. Yes, I think it is very safe to believe that Nancy Pelosi is a liar. More importantly, she's not very bright. So, it's just something that was going to happen. Sessions said he was going to recuse himself. He has recused himself. He's not going to resign. Trump has already said that Sessions has his full support. This is not going to be General Flynn 2.0. So anyhow, that's that. The other stuff that's going on, something to look forward to. First of all, I don't know if you listen to much baby metal, but if you do, you absolutely have to listen to From Dusk Till Dawn. It's not one of the popular baby metal songs, but it's awesome. It's like heavy metal enigma. So I'm just cranking that right before getting on here. The other thing to look forward to is we just published a new book of mine in hardcover. So you may be aware that last month we published the volume 1 of my collected columns, covered the year 2001 to 2005. And so For those of you who are interested, it's coming out in hardcover. It's already been published, and it should hit the stores, hit Amazon and whatnot in about a week. It's a pretty big bastard. It's like 780 pages or something like that. But if you want to have a reference of all those old WorldNet Daily columns, it's actually a nice way to track the history. I didn't realize it, but when we went through and put them all together, we talked about maybe putting them in order by subject or whatever else. And then we realized that it just worked best to put them in chronological order, because as you read through it, you get a sense for what was going on, what the history of that time was like. Even though it's only 15 years ago, 15 to 11 years ago, it really feels like a different world. And that's one of the reasons why I named that volume Innocence and Intellect, because excuse me, because it wasn't just my innocence, although there was certainly no shortage of that, but it was also the innocence of the time. No, I was not alt-right then. I would say I was a nationalist libertarian. And so, I guess you could say I was proto-alt-right. I was never a full-fledged capital L libertarian, open borders, that sort of thing. But, I was essentially a free trader. And the world has changed dramatically. We have more evidence now because of the internet and because of cheap and easy travel. The world has fundamentally changed. Things that, a lot of those old positions that people used to have, whether it was civic nationalism, whether it was free trade, whether it was open borders, all of those things, we did not necessarily have sufficient evidence, and so people were operating on the basis of theory. Well, there's a very old saying, "Let reason be silent when experience gainsays its conclusions." And we now have the experience necessary to say that civic nationalism is false. Civic nationalism is wrong. We now have the experience to say that free trade does not make everyone wealthier, and free trade will significantly impoverish the wealthier nation. We now know that open borders is not compatible with democracy. We know that it is not compatible with maintaining Western civilization. People do not used to believe that a significant percentage of a country was going to be willing to leave its country to invade a new one. Well, we now know that that's true too. So, the world hasn't actually changed. What has changed is our perception of the world has changed significantly, because we can no longer cling to some of the comforting lies that we used to believe. Everybody who's on the right understands that the left wing is full of liars, that the left wing is full of people who are fundamentally deceiving themselves and others. What a lot of people have not yet come to accept is that the same thing is true of the moderates on the right, and the same thing is true of the conservatives on the right. Conservatives simply are not ready to give up some of their illusions. Now, I think that we can be sympathetic. I think that we can be patient with them, because unlike the left, they have not known their assumptions were false for generations. We are just learning, and they are just learning, that their assumptions, that their belief in magic dirt, their belief in the proposition nation, their belief in Judeo-Christianity and the teachings of Judeo-Christ, all those things are things that they believed honestly. Now the myths are being punctured. Now the alt-right is blowing away their myths and events are demonstrating the falsehood of their delusions. And so the honest ones are moving to the alt-right. The honest ones are understanding that okay, there's another troll. You know, the yeah, I mean, the thing is that here's what you know. Here's your metric. You know, the Apostle Paul said, by their fruits you shall know them. If you are forced to resort to falsehoods and false narratives and outright lies and contorted rationalizations and justifications in order to balance your assumptions with current events or with you know, observable statistics and observable facts, then there's something wrong with your assumptions, and there's something wrong with your ideology, and there's something wrong with you. And so the important thing for the alt-right, and you know, I keep hammering on this on people, but the important thing is to keep speaking the truth. Keep speaking in line with history, in line with science, and in line with current events. That's all you have to do. You know, they will hate you for it. You know, they will hate you because you're standing in the way of them pushing their narrative. And remember, there is a narrative even on the right, you know, the mainstream narrative. Marine Le Pen, I don't think that EU stripping her immunity is going to make any difference whatsoever. What they're trying to do is they're trying to balance the criminal investigation into Fillon and his wife, who both apparently severely engaged in severe and serious financial fraud, and you know, likely he needs to get elected president to stay out of jail. So, yeah, and nobody in France is going to care because it's not about Marine Le Pen personally. Everyone knows that the French mainstream establishment is totally corrupt. She might be a little bit corrupt, I don't know, but they don't care about that. What they care about is the fact that there are way too many non-French people in France, and they are tired of the riots. They are tired of feeling afraid. They are tired of being slaughtered, etc., etc. What happens to Wilders on the Ides of March? He'll be fine. He's very well protected. He managed to get the risky people out of his detail. You know, he has no intention of becoming another Theo Van Gogh. You know, but that's something. Italians is tired. Oh, the Italians are even more tired of it than the French. But you know, it's a different situation in Italy because you know, Italy is about 5 different countries, and they're all kind of going in their own different ways. And so, you know, by the time this is all over, there may be an independent Republic of Venice, a free Northern League, and then, like, you know, a corrupt traditional Italian administration, and then you know, independent Sicily or something. Who knows? But you know, it's you can't really map American style politics into Europe in general, and you certainly can't in Italy. So yes, Machiavelli did want a united Italy, more or less. Sienna's a nice place. I like it. It's a nice little town. You should also check out Lucca. Lucca's an interesting walled city. Anyhow, that's really all I have for tonight. So sorry about all the trolls, but you know, trolls and flack just mean you're over the target. So that's always a good thing. Like I said, if you get a chance, check out Cleo audiobook, Martin Van Crevel. Look for Innocence and Intellect coming out in print soon. And please stop by Infogalactic News to stay tuned in and get the latest stories that are not spun in the left's favor. So have a good evening.